Sue Shooter is a ring rat and makes no apologies about it. As a young woman and devoted fan in the heyday of World Championship Wrestling in Australia, Melbourne-based Sue rooted some of the wrestling's biggest overseas stars. She'd always been attracted to the wrestlers, watching them on TV and then seeing them live at Melbourne's Festival Hall. But Sue finally became a rat on May 9th, 1970, 4 days after turning 19. She went to a show with a friend, and both were invited by Jerry Briscoe up to his hotel room. Once they arrived, he told them to take their clothes off and give him a blowjob or get out of his room.
I'll have to be honest with you, I shit myself. I had no idea what I was thinking. I got half undressed, and Jerry took the rest off.
And then Sue blew the later NWA. He'll never speak to me again for reading this report. Sue blew the later NWA World Tag Team Champion.
It was the first time I'd ever done it. I didn't even know what it meant. Both of us did it at the same time. Tony Parisi came up later and we took care of him as well. Then Eric Froelich and Mark Lewin. Then Gary Hart and Ivan Koloff.
It was allegedly a momentous weekend for Sue as she was initiated into the ranks of rattiness, although she didn't fuck any of the guys that night.
It was only blowjobs for two of the guys that I can remember, Jerry and Tony. It was fantastic, going to the wrestlers and being involved with them physically.
Sue also got her first inkling that not everything was kosher in pro wrestling.
The heels and the faces were mixing together. That's when I was shocked, because we were marks at that stage.
Sue quickly developed a soft spot for wrestler Gary Hart, who most modern fans would remember as a heel manager warring against the Von Erichs in Dallas during the 1980s.
One time I went to Gary's room, and he later introduced me to Kurt and Carl Von Steiger as his girlfriend. If Gary told me to jump, I'd say, how high? Even to this day, I adore Gary. If he came back to Australia now, I'd still sleep with him.
But Hart wasn't the first wrestler Sue fucked. That honor went to midget grappler Lord Littlebrook in 1971.
I was so naive in those days. I honestly thought I wanted to go to the toilet, but it was just me having orgasms all the time. He gave me my first orgasm 4 times in 2 hours.
No sign of the
Lord Littlebrook was an enormous man. Sue said most of the Americans expected a blowjob and nothing more, probably because it was healthier and safer than straight sex.
They weren't interested in screwing. They didn't know who you'd been with, and you didn't know who they'd been with.
That's our head bar woman.
Never at any time was Sue concerned about pregnancy or STDs.
I was with one of the other midgets. He was very strange in his sexual ways. He believed in anal sex. His name was Wee Willie Wilson from and he was very well hung. After that, I was with Butch Miller from the Bushwhackers. Before, he was a sheep herder. When he first came here from New Zealand in 1971, he was a destroyer under a mask. I met him through Tiger Jeet Singh. I caught up with Butch in Anaheim, California in 1996, and I think he remembered me. He was nice.
And later on, he also had the sheep. During the early 70s, Sue fucked or sucked a veritable who's who of professional wrestling, including Maniac Mark Lewin, Mr. Fuji, Ivan Koloff, and the Von Steigers.
Half the time you'd go to the hotel on a Saturday afternoon, and you'd end up in some wrestler's hotel room for sex. That's what you went for. I didn't really know of the concept of rats, but I found out later what I was doing was being a rat. And a lot of the guys would refer to you as ring rats or arena rats.
Sue's rattiness continued as she got older with the WWF's tours of Australia in 1985 and 1986.
It was fun, and I have no regrets whatsoever. Have I been used? Yeah. I felt humiliated by the Iron Sheik. He read a copy of Penthouse while he was getting a blowjob from me. Also, Hercules Hernandez couldn't get it up due to drugs.
But there were happier memories of those tours.
I was with Fuji again in '86, and Matt Bourne. The best fuck of the lot was Moondog Spot Larry Latham. He was the best screw I ever had. The craziest in the ring wild man was the gentlest man in bed.
Sue first went overseas to see wrestling in 1984.
I didn't rat for the first time I was overseas, but the second time I did with Memphis jobber Black Shadow, Tim Hyde. I didn't rat anyone famous, not for want of trying. I would have done Jerry Lawler if I could, but I think it would have spoiled our friendship.
The last overseas wrestler Sue fucked was Bobby Blaze during the Wrestle Riot Tours of Australia in 1993.
There's nothing wrong with ratting. I have a 21-year-old daughter who's into the wrestling, and if she wasn't in a relationship, I would love her to become a rat, because she's stunning. If my daughter said, Mom, I'm ending the relationship, will you introduce me to some wrestlers? I'd say yes. Back in the 60s and 70s, there was a mother and daughter who were rats. I'm not interested in sleeping with the average man because he's boring. But if he's a wrestler, then I'll sleep with him. It's an obsession. I'm still a rat. If the guys were here, definitely. At age 46, I'd love to be.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is Dan Leonard's Confessions of a Ring Rat, the story of Sue Shooter, known on this show as Sue the Shooter.
46, you just said. How retro is this article?
Press time, I believe, was sometime in the 90s. So.
Yeah, that would be about 66 now, eh?
What title belt is Bobby Blaze holding up in this happy picture of himself here?
That, believe it or not, I believe is from Smoky Mountain, is the United States Junior Heavyweight Championship. Possibly, I'm not sure.
I think you're right. I think that is what that belt is. But, like I said, that is, for all of you new to the show, the origin of Sue the Shooter.
And completely allegedly on the part of any involvement Jerry Briscoe. I had, and obviously I had no idea of the material coming out. He sent me, folks, my Mr. Host to me. You sent me the redacted version, so I didn't know what Sue was going to say until what Sue Shitty Shrew was going to say.
Well, Sue the Shooter, and of course, if anyone has any information about the whereabouts of Wee Willie Wilson, we are still looking to speak to him here on the show.
I thought you were going to talk to Sue. I'd actually like to meet Sue after that fucking promo. She could stand up to one of those Mid-South rats. Well, they were a hardy breed. As a matter of fact, this was a quote from one of the girls at one point. Are you going to fuck me or what? That was what one of the girls at the matches actually once uttered in my presence, let's say.
Was that Oklahoma or Louisiana?
Louisiana. They were very, very demanding, the Cajun ladies down in Louisiana. Very demanding people. Are you going to fuck me or what? With that accent. It was.
Did any of the boys ever worry back then, especially if you were a heel, that one of these rats would try to lure them in and then, try to slit their throat in the night or something?
I would have thought you were going to go with the, paternity suit type of forced marriage, payoff, whatever, instead of slit your throat in the night. I don't think anybody, by the time that they would let them sleep in their presence or sleep in their, you know what I'm saying, there was probably a level of trust established, but I never heard anybody actually worried about that.
Well, Sue the Shooter, number 7 this week. Naturally, as we have the last several weeks about Vince McMahon.
Oh boy.
Before we get to any of these, have you caught up at all? Have you seen any of the latest installments of the WWE version of Tuesdays with Maury? Vince McMahon and Austin Theory.
We said here a couple weeks ago, the only thing worse than Vince not seeing anything in you is Vince seeing something in you. Because now Austin Theory, my boy, what have they done to my boy? I said, this guy is incredible. What a prospect. He's got the body. He's got the look. He's got the size. He can work the little things. I would have loved having this guy in OVW. I would have pushed him to the moon because he's got all the little things that you either can't teach or sometimes it takes forever to teach. So naturally, they took him from NXT, rescued him from the Same Face family, Johnny and Mrs. Same Face. Now he's on Raw, but he has become Vince McMahon's pet project, who apparently from these vignettes, Vince is trying to teach him to have the killer instinct and go out and make something of himself, and Vince is threatening him with the pencil and the noted eraser. And there was another backstage vignette interaction with Vince and Austin Theory on Raw just last night, Monday night. And I watched this clip. And again, there's Austin Theory trying to do the best he can with what he's being told to do, but basically it amounts to nodding up and down and going, and yes, sir, and taking selfies of himself with things and people. But Vince was mad at him in this clip because apparently he had been defeated by Finn Balor in a match earlier in the show, and then after that, wouldn't you know, it's not just an epidemic, Brian, in AEW or in some of the outlaw promotions, but it's the WWE as well. It's the entire world of wrestling. There's Finn Balor doing an interview back in the back of the building, and here comes Austin Theory and tackles him. At least he got about 30 seconds out, though, not like in AEW, where they can't speak at all before they get attacked. Balor got about 30 seconds out. And then here comes Austin Theory and beats him up and runs him into the equipment cases. And of course, immediately the announcer just backs up and becomes a mute, doesn't scream, "Oh my God, help," or anything, just gets out of the shot. And all the damage is done. And then at least at the end, quality control in the WWE, they run in one referee, and I think, who was it that was standing around? Somebody else in a suit, to say, "Get the heck out of here." And then Austin Theory goes into Vince's office to tell him what he's done. Hey, even though I lost the match, that was a cold-blooded, ruthless attack that I just made on Finn Balor. And Vince says, yeah, but even though, and this is a quote from Vince, even though you beat, as we might say, the chocolate pudding out of him. So over on AEW, they're saying shit, shitty McShit, shit face, shit head, beat the shit out of, you're a piece of shit, shit. And over in WWE land, Vince says you beat the chocolate pudding out of him.
Suffer and succotash.
And then he says, but I should, and I'm, by the way, he's not saying it with this much oomph and power and projection and clarity. He said he ought to fire Austin Theory because he loves firing people before the holidays. It makes him feel good, like he just had a good meal, gives him a warm. They're doing a parody of what people used to believe was the real Mr. McMahon, because Vince was so good at being Mr. McMahon that people had those thoughts, and now they're parodying people who are probably writers who were children when he was Mr. McMahon are now parodying, Vince to where he's Ebenezer Scrooge and bah humbug, and it's a whole, and I'm sure he loves it too because, it's great shit, pal. But the clip that I saw, Brian, besides the fact that he brought the pencil out again, and Vince tried to tear a piece of his legal pad off, and he tore it in half. Instead, he couldn't tear the whole page off of the legal pad. It looked like Bobby Heenan doing the old phone book tear stunt where he would tear 3 pages and put it down like he was satisfied.
No, you know what it looks like? I swear to God, it looks like he's a fucking Muppet. It looks like the Vince head, the weird Vince head, it's like one piece, and then someone else is working the hands, because he's always sitting and he's hunched over. So there's like a torso, and then there's just crazy hands going all over the place.
The hands are going everywhere.
I think it's Frank Oz working the hands, and someone else is working the Vince head. It looks nuts. It looks like someone else is doing his hands.
But who's the one that had to stick their hand up Vince's ass then is what I want to... But anyway,
Bruce.
He's got the paper.
It was Bruce.
Of course. Well, Bruce was able to get his hand up Vince's ass. His head is so big, and it's lodged there. So Vince scratches something he's written with a pencil, he erases it, and then holds the paper up and blows the eraser shavings in Austin Theory's face. But here's what I was going for. with what I was about to tell you was I saw this clip. It was sent to me, and apparently it was on YouTube, right? This wasn't a clip directly off. Well, I don't know where it was directly off, but the point is, without me doing it, the closed captioning for the hearing impaired was on this clip. And from the time it had the announcer that asked Finn Balor the question, and it had Finn Balor's response, and then you see the attack, and then it goes into Vince's office, and you see him talking to Theory, and then it started having some trouble. Because, as we've mentioned, yes, Vince he's some of it's under his breath. And they were piping the crowd noise in really loud in this anyway.
Really loud. What
really
the hell
loud.
was that? Yeah.
I've been in Vince's office. He doesn't have a studio audience in the office, right? So they were piping the noise from the arena into this as some kind of background, but what it made it hard to hear Austin Theory, but it made it almost impossible to understand Vince because he's not projecting. He's got the gruff voice now, and it's under So I'm watching, as I'm watching Vince trying to get these things out, my eyes are drawn to the closed captioning. And the closed captioning is not able to figure out what Vince is saying anyway. And one of the closed captioning statements was when Vince was first starting to read Austin Theory out about maybe he made a bad decision in seeing something in Austin Theory. He said, I didn't get to be a billionaire by making stupid business decisions, but the closed captioning, plain as day, said, I got to be a billionaire by making stupid decisions.
Well, that's actually true.
And then he starts going further, and all of a sudden the closed captioning while Vince is mumbling disappears, and then just one word pops up, inaudible.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
It's a pre-tape in an office. These guys, they're mic'd. It's a professional television production. But yet the closed captioning is reading it as the same thing as a fucking radio message from the space shuttle in outer space, inaudible. Or some kind of police surveillance video of the mob, inaudible.
Inaudible.
So that was poor Austin Theory. God almighty.
By the way, we get people that ask us, why does Travis's drawings of current Vince look like he has lipstick on?
Because he looks like he's got lipstick on.
To which I would say, what the hell was going on here? And that side shot of him, he looks completely nuts. He looks like he was built in Jim Henson's fucking creature studio. He really fucking does. There were Muppets and then there were creatures that Jim Henson would build. He doesn't even look real.
I think if he was silly putty or Play-Doh, don't get him too close to a fucking heat source or he might start melting. But that would, yeah. I mean, I just don't know I just wish, and we talked about this last week on the show, I wish he would just take time off, retire, put his feet up, at least he's not a television personality anymore, and since he was one of the absolute best ever, it's disheartening now that younger people are going to see him now and say, this is the Vince McMahon that we've heard about that was so commanding and, as you mentioned, captivating or whatever. It's sad now, and I hate to see that, and I wish there was somebody that could tell him honestly, or had the balls to, whether he agreed with him or not, that would go to him and say, Vince, you shouldn't be on TV anymore. But nobody's going to do that. And what does Stephanie do anymore in that company? Do we know?
They gave her another, I think they shifted her position to another position recently. She was chief brand officer for a while, which...
Well, she shifted her position to another position. You mean she went from doggy style to reverse cowgirl?
That's not what I meant in any possible way. I meant she went from, I don't even know if it's senior VP, EVP, but head of this department to just do this now. And she was doing something else, I think. Although it's all basically the same. It's just Stephanie needs a job. Let's keep her doing something. She's good at talking to people who know nothing about wrestling. She's incredible at that. Like, if you had an auditorium filled with people who know nothing about wrestling, send her to talk to them, best person in the world.
Yes, so you would think she would be the one to talk to Vince and say, Vince, come on, it's, I don't know.
Thank you, Moolah. You have no idea who she is.
Excellent question, Wendy.
From endless scenic vistas and fresh mountain air to forested trails and flowing waterfalls, it's our responsibility to preserve Boone's natural beauty for those enjoying it today and for those discovering it tomorrow. Sticking to designated trails, following posted signage, and practicing waterfall safety are all good ways to respect Boone's outdoor spaces. Together, let's make sure the views that go on forever, go on forever. Learn more at preservetheawe.com.
There was more Miz and Snoopy, and the weekend attendance was 161,892. What do you think the real weekend attendance was? Did they say they had like 65,000 tickets out for each night a day or two beforehand?
Something like that. Probably like 135,000 or something.
But this counts everybody that was working in the stadium, all the parking attendants, anybody that was around, EMT crew, fucking homeless bums. It is California, sleeping in the street outside in the parking lot.
Spirits who died during the construction of the building.
Jimmy Hoffa is buried underneath that. They counted him too. So Miz was upset at Snoop because he put him in a match the previous night, and Snoop said, you want to do it again? And I guess Miz wasn't done complaining because he's like, well, you ruined my suit. I don't come to your studio and show you how to rap. And I'm thinking, boy, if they brought out LA Knight right now and he just beat the shit out of the Miz, how big do you think that pop would have been?
I was waiting to figure out who it would be. That was my first guess, just because of what's been happening. Why not capture that moment, have that here?
LA Knight in LA
That's
at
right.
WrestleMania beating up the Miz, the movie star.
Instead, this turned into one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I was losing it watching it.
I couldn't laugh because I've told you before, Shane's my favorite one. I like him. He's got his picadillos, but he was a good kid. He's a nice guy at heart, right? And I guarantee you that he probably called Vince and said, Dad, can I do Mania one more time? I've been working out. I'm in shape. And I guarantee you and I want to redeem myself. 'Cause what was it, the Royal Rumble last year? He didn't make a good impression. And so they were going to have, folks, if you didn't see this, they were going to have Shane come down and have an impromptu match with The Miz and do what I assume Shane was going over. So Snoop...
You're not doing it any justice. This was such an all-time hysterically awful segment.
I'm just saying what they were going to do.
His music hits. You hear that, here comes the money thing, and then here comes old Shane McMahon bopping all around the stage doing his thing. You already knew that something was going to go wrong.
Well, because he was huge. He looked, did you see how puffy he was jacked up like a jacked up Dana White with hair. His face was round. And he's almost 55 now, right? Because I'm over 60. He's about 7 or 8 years younger than me. Anyway.
Shane McMahon is 53 years old.
Okay. So he's huge. He's wearing the tight shirt showing the big arms. And he's dancing and doing the Ali shuffling the whole 9 yards. And when he gets in the ring, he gets the microphone. And as he's didn't really do a promo just to say to the fans, hey, I love you guys. Thank you for that response. You know, sends his love. He was blowed up already because he'd been so hyper. And then Snoop here, he didn't exactly set this up in a stellar fashion. He's just like it was. They played the music. Shane comes out. He said, let's get a referee. And no, you're in there. I'm out here or whatever. And the bell rings. And Shane immediately starts with the rabbit jabs. Boom, boom, boom. And Miz is back in the corner. And then Shane backs Miz up and shoots him off and drops down. And here's... Before I tell the people what happened, Brian, in any wrestling school, one of the most elementary fucking things that you would ever learn is you don't shoot a guy off and either let him come off the ropes and give you a move, and you don't shoot a guy off by the arm and drop down. If you drop down, you need to shoot a guy off out of a headlock because then you're committing an offensive move in defense, right? He's in control, you're throwing him off of you. When you're in control of the guy's arm, you're throwing him into the ropes and then dropping down to avoid a move that he shouldn't be able to give you. Have I made that somewhat clear?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So Shane arm whips Miz off and drops down because he's got to get some space so he can do his leapfrog. Because Shane has, I guess, decided one of the things he wants to do to show his athleticism is his big high leapfrog.
When he was like in the air in a leapfrog, you think he's thinking, wait until Endeavor sees this. They're going to need me around.
You know what? When he hit the height, that was a high leapfrog, and he spread those legs out, and goddamn, you could just hear the front row, and it would have spread, starting the "You've Still Got It" chant. They went, "You've still," and then he landed. And then he buckled. And he went down to the left and spun around over on his fucking hands and knees. And now Miz is coming off the ropes. And after he's been leapfrogged, he's coming off the ropes and he sees Shane. Shane is down. Shane is down, as Rene Goulet might say. So he runs past Shane thinking Shane has stumbled. And Shane will stand up. If I just run past him and come off the other side, Shane will be back up on his feet by the time I come back to him. And so Miz runs past Shane, who's on his hands and knees, starting to get up. And as Shane gets up and puts weight on his leg, he realizes that he can't get up, and he crumples face first to the mat. And Miz comes off the other side of the ropes, and it's like this time Shane tried to fucking drop down for real and trip Miz's feet out from under him. And Miz just had to stop and stand there and stare at him. And then Shane is groveling on the ground. He's turned over on his back and he's yelled something, probably, "I'm fucked!" And then Miz backs up in the corner and just has this blank look. And then the referee goes check on Shane, who obviously cannot get to his feet. And
I love that this is a new McMahon thing. The surprise appearance and then blowing out your quads.
all right, you've told the people he didn't blow. I thought he blew his knee, but apparently the news after the match was he tore his quad, the same thing that Vince did.
What's going on?
And that's the only thing that's funny at all about it. Poor Shane, I was so embarrassed for him. But the doctor comes in and is checking on him, and here comes, of all people, now you see the referee, the female referee. She puts her hand to her ear. She's trying to hear her earpiece. I'm pretty sure they're probably telling her something, but I didn't see her have time to talk to Snoop. And I didn't see Miz. Miz just stood there with a blank look on his face. Snoop Dogg comes back in and said, "No, it can't be like that," and fucking punches Miz. And down goes Miz. And then I think that the referee may have told him, yeah, do it again, or Miz called it or something, because Miz gets back up and he nails Miz again. And then Snoop Dogg, as they've slid Shane out, you never saw him again. Snoop Dogg gives Miz the stiffest people's elbow. He actually did jump up in the air and drop elbow first on this man's sternum. It looked like shit until it got there, and then it hurt. And covered him 1, 2, 3. So Snoop Dogg pins Miz at WrestleMania.
I watched the press conference afterwards, and Triple H put him over big time. He said a lot of wrestlers in that position would have frozen, not known what to do.
Yeah, like Miz.
This guy, we always knew he was a fan. He's done other things. He showed us that he actually has instincts here to go in there, and he saved the segment. And if this is the last appearance of Shane McMahon,
that's the sad thing. I feel so bad for Shane, and his kids are so nice, and he's just so embarrassing.
Can you imagine? The last time he's there was that Royal Rumble where he didn't look that great in the match, and it appeared something was off, and then we found that something was off, and they told him never come back ever again. And then he shows up here, and just seconds into it.
And
I'm laughing too much. I'm sorry. I find it so funny. It's so funny.
And he's fucked his life up for the next 6 months, because that will be surgery and recovery and rehab and
if it worked for Tony Khan, the company would pay for it.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to turn this one into the WWF for the new company.
What's his WrestleMania payoff going to be?
Oh my God! Have I told you the Glenn Coca story?
No.
You remember that, right?
I remember Glenn Coca, but what story?
Glenn Coca was a big muscle builder, tough-looking guy that had played. He was from Canada, and he had played for the Canadian Football League, and he was a big-time amateur athlete, and he was an early developmental guy. He before I came down to OVW, when they were sending guys down to Memphis to Randy Hale's Power Pro Wrestling, Glenn was part of that. He was very early developmental program, like first half a dozen or so guys.
Yeah, that's where I remember him from, Memphis.
Yeah. And he was a badass looking guy, and he was a nice guy, and kind of got the picture and everything, but he had just started training. And so Dr. Tom Pritchard had worked with him, and he's one. Dory Funk Jr. had worked with him, and he'd been in Memphis and everything, and I can't remember the particulars, but somehow or another, there was a big independent show in his hometown that they had booked, and they booked him on so he could go and he could appear. It was either his hometown or the college he graduated from or whatever, but there's a big crowd in this gym, and they're all there to see Glenn Coca. And he comes out and makes the big entrance and gets in the ring and jumps up on the second rope and does the thing where, yay! And, he's got his arms up, and the crowd is exulting him, and he's so fired up, and he's so happy, this infectious crowd behind him. He jumps off the second turnbuckle and turns and jumps back into the middle of the ring and lands and breaks his fucking leg.
Oh, man.
Boom! Goes down he goes. And they carried him out.
That's the thing. Whoever Shane said goodbye to in the back before he went out, like seconds later, he was being carted right past them.
And well, while we're on the subject of embarrassing debuts, remember Mike Furness's hot tag in Knoxville?
That was for you.
Yes. Doug Furness, the world's strongest man, an incredible Japanese star. He went to the University of Tennessee, was a football star, was legitimately one of the strongest men in the world. Power. Everybody knows who Doug Furness is, right? And he's the one that ripped the door off the cage in Knoxville that led to me stealing it for Kane to rip the door off the Hell in a Cell. And he called me when we were running Smoky Mountain and said, my brother Mike, who also played football at the University of Tennessee, was a good amateur athlete. My brother Mike, he wants to learn how to wrestle. if you guys will train him and break him in, I'll come out. Because by then, Doug was living in California. He went to Japan so much for Baba, like every 6 weeks. But he would come out and work like the big Christmas show and some of my big events in Knoxville, right? Oh, okay, great, a local hero. So we trained Mike as best we can. Horner worked with him, and I think Tom and Jimmy Del Rey, because we were going to make the match the Furnace Brothers against the Heavenly Bodies, Tom Pritchard and Jimmy Del Rey. So he worked with Mike, and Mike made some TV appearances, and he was not either a natural in the ring or a natural promo. You could tell it wasn't he wasn't his brother Doug, unfortunately. Not to say he wasn't a nice fella. But, you know, Doug's going to be in, right? So we shoot the angle where we beat up Mike Furnace. He calls his brother Doug. Christmas night in Knoxville. The big event, our biggest crowd, one of our big crowds of the year, that and the big August show. And it's going to be the Furnace Brothers against Heavenly Bodies. Well, because Mike was going to continue on with us, you know, and continue wrestling, whereas Doug would only make an appearance here and there. And also because Doug was more experienced, Doug said, I'll sell, get the heat on me, and then let's give Mike the tag. He can make the comeback, and then we'll do, you know, the finish. And that way I can get it right for Mike, and he'll look like a bit, okay, perfect, right? So Doug Furnace, the Heavenly Bodies get him in the ring, and he's selling his ass off, and they're kicking the shit out of him, and I'm drawing the referee, and they're double teaming him, and people are getting hot. We're trying to build for this big hot tag, and finally the Heavenly Bodies go for their, I think it was, if I remember right, Tom is holding Doug, and Jimmy comes off the top with his big moonsault body block, and Doug moves, and Jimmy flattens Tom, and they're both down, and Doug struggles to the corner and dive and makes the tag, and Tom's coming up, and as Mike steps through the ropes, he runs as fast and as hard as he can, 3 steps, and leaps up in the air and hits Tom Pritchard with a flying clothesline, and Tom takes a big bump, and Mike spins around in the air and lands on the mat and continues rolling and rolls all the way out of the ring on the other side and drops to the floor. Just couldn't stop himself and went right under the bottom rope and disappeared. And Jimmy Del Rey is coming up to take the second clothesline and turns around, and Tom's laying there flat on his back, and there's nobody else in the fucking ring. And then you see a hand come up on the other side of the apron and grab the bottom rope, and he pulled himself in and slid right back in and ran as fast as he could at Jimmy and leveled him with the clothesline. And goddamn, I've never seen, he went from the apron of one side of the ring, through the ropes, into the ring, through the air, down and under the bottom rope on the other side of the ring in like 2.5 seconds. Oh, God damn it.
Do you think it'll be SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble when Stephanie comes back to wave to the fans and blow out her quad?
The question is, maybe at Halloween they could have a special 3-legged race with Shane and Vince tied together. All right.
You know what's funny? Did Vince even blow out his quads last year? What happened when Vince couldn't take the stunner? He didn't blow out his quads, did he?
No, he just crumpled like a goddamn fucking used slinky.
And that's the same way Shane's legs went. You look exactly the same. Every year there's going to be a segment where the McMahons come out there and just flop around the ring.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He walks, he talks, he crawls on his belly like a reptile. Shane McMahon. I feel so bad. No, with the stunner, Vince just, I think, well, I don't know.
You want to talk feeling bad? It was Shane, famous last words. Hey, Dad, we should buy UFC.
So now let's see, when they got home now, Vince says to Shane, well, Shane, goddammit, pal, You blew your quad out WrestleMania 30 seconds in, and he can say, well, you motherfucker, at the Royal Rumble, you blew both your quads just sliding into the ring. And then he can say, besides, I told you to buy that UFC. Now look where we are.
Well, see, I told you WrestleMania was fun.
Hey, it's Paige Harris.
God damn it. But, so anyway, who else fell out of the ring I can think of?
See, the problem is Shane's going to go, I can't let that be the last time I'm seen on the grandest stage of them all. And what's the other option? It's either I come out there and do the simple stuff, or I dive off a giant structure.
Hey,
so I'm worried about it next time.
You know what? Here's a very interesting thing. Is the new $21 billion company to be named whatever, that's not completely and totally operated by the WWE, are they going to allow a 53-year-old father of two who hasn't wrestled in several years come out and do something like that? Or even a 56-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin, or a however-year-old whoever the guy.
Well, it's funny, on CNBC earlier, Scott Wapner asked Ari Emanuel and Vince McMahon, he said, what if Mr. McMahon, the character, wants to come out and do something in the ring? Is that okay? And before Ari Emanuel answered, Vince was like, he's dead. The character's dead. But Ari Emanuel said, yes, whatever he wants to do, he's allowed to do. So I think they're going to still operate under Vince's rules.
No, but think about this. Well,
I agree the liability is much bigger.
They might have until their legal department. Hey, Sinclair Broadcasting, they were a $1 billion company, at least on paper, when they bought Ring of Honor.
Point me to your legal department.
And listen here, we were in Charleston, West Virginia. I get a phone call from the legal department saying that the guys can't take part in a chicken wing eating contest at Hooters that night that was our sponsor. Or the fans couldn't, or the guys could, but the fans couldn't, or something. I said, what are you talking? Well, there's a liability. I said, wait a minute. So if one of these motherfuckers chokes on a fucking chicken bone at Hooters because we said, hey, get in a contest to see if you can eat more chicken wings than Jay Briscoe, they're going to be able to sue us? Oh, it could. I threw my cell phone all the way across the building. So what I'm saying to you is now that live in front of 60 to 80,000 people, depending on the report, and God and everybody on pay-per-view and streaming television, Shane McMahon seriously injured himself and is going to require surgery. He's 53 years old, doing a leapfrog. Are they gonna have another situation where, okay, if you're past such and such age, you can't participate, or you've got to pass a physical for any kind of interaction because they don't understand what can be worked and what can't be? I mean, Steve Austin could come out, he's not going to try to do a fucking leapfrog. He's got a bad knee. But he can still be Steve Austin, as we saw in doing Steve Austin things. But will they be able to differentiate that between the people that can get by with it and do what they need to do and won't hurt themselves, and the people that obviously or apparently can't? And who's going to be determining that? The legal department? Liability? Multi-billions of dollars? It's not like, Dad said I could anymore. Anyway, and speaking of liability, the next match. But answer me that there, Brian Last. What do you think?
Until we're shown otherwise, I'm going to go under the assumption they're going to keep doing things the way they do it. They are better about these things than AEW. I think we will see at WrestleMania 40, Shane versus Dante Martin. The big match. But, Shane shouldn't be out there to begin with.
I think Shane's got a better chance of being on WrestleMania 40 than Dante Martin, but go ahead.
But, Shane shouldn't be out there to begin with. There's a difference between a Steve Austin being billed to be there and used in a limited capacity to take advantage of his star power versus a 50-something who shouldn't be doing... it's one thing if Shane went out there and just delivered the bad punches, okay, and then you set him up for Snoop to do something. But as soon as he went to do something physical that he can't do, it just made the whole thing look bad.
Well, and I'm not arguing with you about that. I'm saying that I think that somebody in the legal department wouldn't know the difference in how that could be handled.
Whose legal department? Does WWE maintain their own legal department, or is it part of Endeavor's? See, that's the thing. How many jobs in corporate are going to be eliminated because of redundancy?
And also duplication. Speaking of not the time for anything, I also told a story the other day when we were talking about famous fucking flop entrances or comebacks or debut. How did we get on that topic?
We were talking about Shane McMahon, who, in midair, we were told he still got it, and by the time he landed, he had it, and he left with it. He tore it.
And then I told the story of former Canadian football great Glenn Coca, who had a brief flirtation with the WWF developmental program in, I believe it was 98 and 99. He worked in Memphis some, and he trained some at the studio in Stamford. And anyway, I told the story of how he had a big match in his hometown. It's been so long I couldn't remember all the details, but that when he was introduced to this sellout crowd of people in his hometown, he jumped up on the ropes to exult in the crowd's cheers, and then jumped off and landed in the ring and broke his fucking leg, right? And down he went. So we have Mike has written in, he was an eyewitness. He says, "Hey, Jim and Brian, I just wanted to tell you that this moment happened in my hometown of Regina, Saskatchewan, just a ways from where Brock Lesnar now owns his farmhouse. Coca had recently retired from playing in the CFL for our hometown Saskatchewan Rough Riders. The Rough Riders to the people of Saskatchewan are like the Sooners to Oklahomans. Holy shit. So imagine the shock when this happened in front of these people who idolized, in capital letters, the man. So he was a big deal up there, as Lawler one time said to Lance about Playboy Frazier. So Glenn Coca that night was wrestling, of all people, Don Fallis. And now my mind comes back to this. So Coca broke his leg, and Don proceeded to kick him a few times, I guess to see if he was still breathing. And then he used some kind of foreign object, probably a donut hole he pulled out of his trunks. He used some kind of foreign object and pinned him for a 3 count before Coca was stretchered off.
Oh, man.
So...
You're still laughing about this.
I'm sorry. This man, he looked like a caveman. This guy was a badass, right? So not only did the conquering hometown babyface lose, he lost to a Manitoban. Winnipeg and Regina in the CFL is like the prairie redneck football version of Yankees versus Red Sox. So Don Callis pinning Coca in an absolute disaster situation killed the town forever. Indie shows here now do about 100 to 200 people. That night was sold out somewhere in the 3,000 to 4,000 range. Saskatchewan was never the same again. Wow.
And as a result of that, the gods of Saskatchewan took away Don Callis' hair.
You know, can you imagine he's standing there, and the guy goes down and he's screaming in pain, and he can't get to his feet. The match hasn't even started yet. You're in the main event. There's 4,000 people in this building. It's sold out. All came to see the guy that's groveling and simpering at your feet. And now you realize, well, you've got to do something. And then I can see a couple of kicks like, "Can you get up? Are you okay?" And he's like, "Shoot me in the head." And so he's got to fucking make the decision, do I just cover this guy that's got a broken leg? Or do I pull out, oh, my face hurts. Do I pull out a fictitious foreign object and knock him out just to try to save the credibility of the business?
Well, what about what Austin did with Owen Hart? Where Austin couldn't do anything and Owen kind of rolled himself up to be pinned by Austin. Could you do anything where there's some kind of screw job and Callis slips and hits the ground and Coca just laid a hand on it? Was there anything you would have done to repair this?
In this case, Don Callis was not Owen Hart. Because it looked as ugly as a monkey fucking a football, but Owen did kill time by taunting the crowd, talking to the referee, and wandering around to the point where he just wandered backwards and accidentally tripped over Austin, whose limp arm in some fashion fucking went around one of Owen's legs, and the referee counted 1, 2, 3. But this was a case where Austin was just laying there selling a bump he had taken in a match. This was a fucking guy who had just been introduced, jumped off the ropes, and went down like he'd been shot from the grassy knoll. Oh, my ribs hurt. My stomach is hurting.
You think everyone was standing up so that when he went down, like the people in the back on the floor couldn't see? Like, what happened? Where did he go? And it killed the town. The idea that they've never drawn more than 100 people ever since.
Don Callis get a win in a wrestling match in this town. We're never doing this again. Oh, God, ever see things like that?
From endless scenic vistas and fresh mountain air to forested trails and flowing waterfalls, it's our responsibility to preserve Boone's natural beauty for those enjoying it today and for those discovering it tomorrow. Sticking to designated trails, following posted signage, and practicing waterfall safety are all good ways to respect Boone's outdoor spaces. Together, let's make sure the views that go on forever go on forever. Learn more at preservetheawe.com.
Big news, bigger than these ratings, I presume.
Yes, this could affect the future of all of us here in the periphery of the Cornette Empire, my family, everybody. I'm being sued, Brian. I am being sued in a court of law, even. As a matter of fact, the U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York. Those are badasses up there. They don't play around.
No, they don't.
And you know who's suing me?
Is it Rio?
It is not Rio. This is a much bigger name in the professional wrestling industry.
Who would... In the Southern District of New York, that's what makes it an interesting play there.
It is not WWE Hall of Famer Donald fucking President Pig Shit Trump.
Is it from your outside of wrestling activities with, recognized organized crime figures?
No, I have no memory of any of that. But I'll tell you, because you're not going to get it, because nobody's going to get it, because when I say the name, people are going to say, who? Raka Khan! Raka Khan is suing me in a court of law in the United States District Court, the Southern District of New York. Guess what the offense is? Conspiring to kidnap her and her children.
Oh my God! What have you done?
Well, I'll tell you, by cracky, exactly. But I'm not alone. I'm in good company. A lot of people have been involved in this thing. Now there must have been a whistleblower. There's been some kind of blowing going on in this thing.
Is one of her kids named Rufus? I like the idea of it being Raka Khan and Rufus.
Well, no. Let me back up. I said a lot of people would go, who? If you have been a wrestling fan for more than 15 years, you might have seen this lady. Raka Khan, that's the name she used in Impact, TNA. She was with TNA in 2008 to 2009. And I don't know what other name she used. Apparently she went to the Diva Search in 2005 and went to Deep South, and they released her shortly thereafter. And then she apparently got an Impact for about a year, and then she was apparently in that Lucha Libre USA for about a year, and then... But here's the thing. She has sued me for this, and also, would you like to hear the other co-defendants that I have been grouped with in this lawsuit, kidnapping, conspiring to kidnap her and her children? My other co-defendants. Would you like to hear this list?
Yeah, let me hear it, because I'm looking at pictures of her, and she's fine, so maybe I'm on her side.
Oh, come on now. You know, and by the way, folks, if you want to Google her, she's a very tall, statuesque lady. I believe, as I remember, she was probably about 6'2". Not a
Holy shit.
Not a plump woman, more like if Grace Jones became a pro wrestler. But anyway,
She looks much better than Grace Jones.
well, she's tall and her legs go all the way to the ground. That was her main attribute, as I recall. But anyway, would you like to hear my co-defendants?
Yeah, please.
This is almost going to sound like a West Shore home spot. I have been sued along with the state of Texas, the El Paso Child Protective Services, the FBI, the Las Cruces, New Mexico Police Department, the NYPD, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, New York ACS, I'm not sure, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the Shirley Police Department. Surely you're not going to sue the Shirley Police Department.
Shirley, New York?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is there another Shirley?
I mean, there must be plenty of Shirleys, but back to your list.
Sigma Phi Epsilon, Suffolk County, New York, The Rock.
Wait, The Rock, that's what
The
it says? Not Dwayne Johnson.
Yes, that Rock. Also, The Miz and Maurice.
Ah,
Current Impact Wrestling star Heath Slater, Heath Miller. I'm sorry, I only knew Heath Slater. Heath Miller, WWE Hall of Famer Nikki Bella.
I knew it.
The late.
I had my suspicions about that Nikki Bella. Trying to steal children.
Apparently not Bree. She was not a part of this. She would never come to the meetings. The late Chris Benoit.
God, I'm sorry to laugh.
Former WWE talent Mark Jindrak. See, he might be able to get out of that because it calls him a talent. So, the now defunct Panda Energy. Panda Energy is defunct.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
Well, hey, I'm just a small-town bird lawyer. I just know what I read on the interwebs, and it says, obviously, I went to the meetings with these other people. I just didn't know that Panda had gone out of business.
No shit, I'm on Wikipedia. This is true. Panda Energy International was an American privately held company headquartered in Dallas, Texas, which constructs, maintains, and operates environmentally friendly power plants. The organization has been recognized by Newsweek magazine as one of the top 10 eco-friendly energy companies in America.
Well, apparently it didn't get them very far.
As of 2010, it has been affiliated with Panda Power Funds. Panda Energy informed its shareholders that it would shut down at the end of 2018.
Wow! So, Dixie bankrupted her parents also, apparently.
On September 6, 2018, Panda chairman, Janice, it says chairman, but Janice Carter, sent what she referred to as the final shareholder letter. The letter states independent power companies can no longer operate. Wow. So they shut down.
They can no longer operate.
When did TNA get sold?
Oh, good Lord, a couple years before that, wasn't it? Well, nevertheless, they're going to have to answer for this conspiracy that we were all in together. And by the way, the list continues. Would you like to hear the next name on the list?
Yeah.
Home Depot.
Oh, well, they have duct tape.
How'd you know? Also, the now defunct Florida Championship Wrestling. Steve Kern.
Oh, no.
The National Wrestling Alliance, NWA President Billy Corgan, the now defunct Deep South Wrestling,
The late Sam Mushnick, Paul Bosch.
Bank of America,
I can believe that.
basketball star Michael Jordan.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know, he lost a lot of his money in that fucking tennis shoe thing.
Well, he's a gambler. Well, he made money with the tennis shoes.
Well, no, but you don't know what his overhead was. Several universities. And then it got Jim Cornette. Mick Foley. Followed by, I'm glad it didn't say the now defunct Jim Cornette, but Mick Foley, New York City Area Energy Company Con Edison.
Wow.
And countless others, too numerous to list here on, I'm reading from pwinsider.com and Mike Johnson's excellent reporting on this, and he's been on this case because obviously There has been no movement on the case for months. Good, because I didn't even fucking know it existed until I saw this headline today.
You haven't been served, obviously.
No, it says none of the defendants listed have been served as of this writing. But I'll tell you what, right now, as soon as I am, this has got to be the next Crusade for Children fundraiser to sell copies of it on the website. So, but wait a minute, it's a 48-page lawsuit.
Oh, I need this. Where is this?
Wait a minute, it shows that she is seeking, do you know how much in damages she's seeking for this conspiracy that all of us, including Home Depot and the now defunct people, entered into? How much does she want in damages?
There's some big companies and a bank, at least one bank listed there. I'm going to go with $1 billion.
$3 billion.
I went high and she went higher. Wow.
It's a 48-page lawsuit, and apparently the majority of the filing is a long list of defendants, some of whom are listed multiple times. And, but now, folks, in case you're wondering, she has been involved with the, how do we say this again? And once again, I'm only the small-town bird lawyer. She's been involved with the legal system over the past 4 years or so, and PW Insider's been reporting on that, but apparently the charges go back to August 2019, when she failed to appear in court and was listed as one of El Paso's most wanted fugitives.
Oh, wow.
Because she was accused or charged, however the phraseology is, with interference with child custody and aggravated kidnapping facilitate.
That's what she's accusing you of.
Well, yeah, well, see, there's obviously a difference of opinion here. In the state of Texas, interference with child custody is when someone takes or retains a child when that person knows that the taking or detention of the child violates a judgment or order. And apparently, there was multiple no-shows of her in court. Her bail was revoked. A bench warrant was issued for her arrest, but she posted a bond, but then she was picked up. Apparently, she claims she was taken to Rikers Island after she was arrested by U.S. Marshals in October of 2021, but they failed to provide a scintilla of evidence, that's a quote, scintilla, about her extradition. And she claims judge overseeing the hearing ordered her released, but the arrest and hearing allowed for the kidnapping of her children, and that the law enforcement agencies involved failed to intervene. So basically, she apparently took some children that she does not have custody of, and when they caught her and took them back, we all entered into this conspiracy along with Con Edison, Michael Jordan, Home Depot, and the Las Cruces, New Mexico Police Department, among others, with Nikki Bella taking the notes as executive secretary.
I knew you were up to something.
And this may have been what defuncted Panda Energy. They may have been paying under the table to keep this news out of the public eye. But anyway, so now the judge has ruled that she can move forward with suing these 48 pages of people. So I'm sweating this. I'm calling Stephen P. New. And now, here's the thing. The last I saw of this woman, she was doing YouTube videos a couple of years ago where she was out in front of some courthouse or some place to do with her legal plight, and she was cutting this promo that sounded like a combination of Ron Wright and a Southern Baptist preacher, where she was doing the whole, almost speaking in tongues. And they have not given me my rights, and they have interfered with my freedoms. And one would think that, I don't know if what the proper term may have been, raving or ranting, but one would think if a person was acting like this out in front of a county building or a city building or a public building, that someone would come along and put a net over them, take them in for some kind of observation or maintenance or something, and then it references this in the PW Insider post, and apparently the videos were made private on YouTube. So I guess we can't see those anymore. But now you realize I've not even seen this woman in person in 15 years.
Yeah, it doesn't really say what you have done as part of this conspiracy.
No, I mean, and it's not as easy to figure out as it is to see what the fucking Omega Sci-Fi fraternity would have had to do with this. I mean, that's easy, but me, it would be a little harder to tie to this. I tried to cover my tracks. But no, she came into TNA, I guess after they flunked her out of Deep South, she was trying to do independent stuff, and she is a large, striking-looking woman. So they hired her for the Knockouts division, and I mean, obviously, I don't know if you were even watching at the time, but I don't know if she was as rotten as Linda Miles, but I often had Linda Miles flashbacks when I was watching her matches. But it wasn't my program. OVW was mine, so I was more obsessive about it and the quality of same, whereas I was turning a blind eye or holding my nose for a lot of things that were in TNA at that point, male and female. So, but I don't recall her being the second coming of Sherry Martel or Medusa or whatever. But in digging deeper into my personal relationship with Raka Khan, who now it's come to this, that our relationship has deteriorated to the point where she's suing me. I want to sue. I think I'll sue you. Raka Khan, please don't sue me. Please don't sue me, Raka Khan. I want to sue. I think I'll sue you. Raka Khan. Here's the interaction I had with this woman in TNA. Because by 2008, I don't even think I was doing the authority figuring that I'd been doing earlier. I think they had Mick doing that by that point. But I was an agent, producer, blah, blah, blah. I never agented or produced or whatever they were calling us then any of the women's matches. That was usually Dutch. Occasionally had help from one of the other boys. I think Lance Diamond did some of them. But I was usually doing the other matches, and I was in the truck, so I never worked with the Knockouts matches. And I'm trying to think if I was ever even on camera with this woman in terms of our professional relationship there, where we were both fulfilling our jobs in TNA, because I mean, it doesn't come to mind, but I did a lot of them. You know, old Shitstain was a master of the pre-tapes back then, and he had backstage pre-tapes blocked out for, you know, the original cast of fucking Ben-Hur in some cases. So we may be in a group scene. We were faces in the crowd. I don't know. But I also never had a meaningful conversation with it. Literally, our interaction was limited to, Raka Khan, how you doing? Good, how are you? Boy, it's going to be a hot one today. Sure is. Raka Khan. If she was standing in front of the Coke machine, I might say, is the Sprite sold out again today? No, I'm not sure. That type of interaction. And then I was trying to think, okay, since we never had a meaningful personal conversation, nor did we ever work together in a professional capacity for the company that we were both with, her even more briefly than me, did we ever mention her on our podcast, Brian Last? Did we cover just the original news when she was on the most wanted fugitive list? We could possibly have done that.
I'll look it up to see if we ever talked about her on the YouTube channel. I mean, she must have come up at some point, because there was also all that drama with her and Kurt Angle, so...
Oh, yeah.
And I've heard her name before, so... And I don't watch Impact, so it must have come up.
Actually, I think the majority of times that her name might have been mentioned since she was not on television anymore might have been if people were telling stories about Kurt Angle. Poor old Kurt, who fell under her influence at one point in time, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, nothing on the YouTube channel that I see.
So, you know, I've covered my tracks well. Hopefully nobody will be able to find out I was actually the ringleader. And the kids are actually in my attics. I've just had spray foam insulated. That's why I didn't want the little crumb snatchers to be in the attic and the heat or the humidity, so I made it a nice little space for them. They're chained up in there right now.
Well, hold on, no, let me stop you. The kids she's talking about, Is she claiming that the kids that she kidnapped are the kids that are being kidnapped from her?
Apparently, she kidnapped the kids and was not only charged with it, but actually on the most wanted fugitive list for failing to appear in court to answer for that.
Are these the same kids in question?
Yes, when they finally caught her and took her to jail to Rikers Island, as she says, that allowed for the kidnapping of her children away from her, the ones that she had kidnapped. So it's a double reverse kidnap here, which is even more serious in a court of law, could be a double felony, and double jeopardy laws do not apply.
So is this they arrested her for the charge of kidnapping the kids, and at that point Child Protective Services jumped in, took the kids into their custody to return them back to, I don't know who, whatever the state of origin was in this country. And then now that's exactly what it is?
Pretty much like what has just happened here. But they're in on it too, because,
of course.
The El Paso Child Protective Services are the first, the state of Texas is the first defendant.
I'd sue them first too, they're big.
Yeah, and they're big, and they run the whole shebang down there, the whole ball of beeswax. And the FBI, we knew they were crooked.
That's what I've been hearing for so long. I didn't know it was going to take Raka Khan to convince me of it.
Ever since they lost Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., they have not been the same organization.
Okay.
Alrighty then. So we're going to keep you up to, as long as we can continue doing this program. I know my legal fees are going to be ridiculous because Stephen P. New is I'm afraid he's not going to handle this for me. I'm going to have to go out there in the pool of attorneys because he don't want to be known as a noted conspiracy attorney.
He may take this one on for the laughs. I don't know.
Well, I think that's why that this apparently a judge has said this lawsuit can move forward with prepaying any court fees. If she prepays the court fees, they say she can move forward with the lawsuit. I think the judge
what does that
says,
mean?
I got to see what the fuck's going to happen here. Well, there's fees when you file some kind of suit. So if he gives up the money, she can file the suit.
So you can file as crazy a lawsuit as you want as long as you pay for it?
Sure! This is America!
I've never thought about doing just crazy out of the blue lawsuits. This is
You can sue anybody for anything. Every lawyer I've retained for the last 40 years, and there's been several, has told me that.
All right, you're going to be home tomorrow?
No, I'm going to leave on a long vacation.
Next topic here, Jim, and this is another one very popular with the listeners. Several have sent this in. Yesterday, as we were recording on Twitter, May 8th, 2023, Chris Jericho tweeted out a photo of a coat check ticket.
No, wait a minute. Don't tell the photo that he tweeted. I know what you're going to say here. Read the tweet first. It was a plea for help. I guess the 911 lines were busy. There were no police officers anywhere around. Chris Jericho was physically and mentally, I believe, assaulted.
Well, I have the tweet here.
And but the only way that he was able to report this crime was on Twitter. Read the tweet if you will.
Chris Jericho on Twitter. Hey, Mandalay Bay, it's unacceptable that you tried to bully me and assault me when all I wanted was my bags that I left at concierge. Your security staff ignored me, that's in caps, for 30 min, and when I made some noise, physically and mentally assaulted me and laughed in my face. I want restitution now! And that's in caps with the attached photo of the coat check ticket.
Yes, the photo was not of him with a black eye looking like Britt Baker on her t-shirt because he was physically assaulted, or it wasn't a picture of him, I don't know, crying because he was mentally assaulted. I don't know, and what is restitution these days for mental assault? But it was a picture to prove these accusations, a picture of his claim check. That was it. He held it in his hand, holding in between his finger and thumb. But, Brian, this is something, it's becoming epidemic now in this country. You go to a luxury hotel and You want to get your bags, you want to get your car from the valet park, and they just come up and they just beat the shit out of you. And then they verbally browbeat you, and then they laugh in your face. Have you heard? I've heard that happening just everywhere here lately.
I don't have specific examples in front of me, and I apologize for that. I apologize to the court. However, I could be wrong. This isn't the first time Jericho's like tweeted out some kind of like weird hotel complaint or
no. There's many times. Hey, Delta Airlines, you fucked up now, boy. Like he's assembling the Avengers somewhere with these tweets to go and rain hellfire, damnation, and fury down on these people at the various car lots and convenience stores and hotels and concierges that he seems to have an inordinate amount of trouble with. And I mean, I've done a lot of travel, and I will admit that I normally stayed in more cost-effective establishments that didn't have valet parking, and I generally take my own bags to my own room, except when forced. But I have never been verbally or physically assaulted by the valet parking guy. And there was, remember, it was a couple of years ago. He went over to the UK for a tour, and he tweeted, "Well, this hotel I'm in sent the police to my room and kicked me out for no apparent reason at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was minding my own business.
Minding my own business in my own room.
Blasting my radio.
Listening to music, I believe, was what his story was. But here's the thing, they don't send the fucking police the first time for loud music. I've been in a few situations where I've been the person calling saying, why are people bouncing off the wall on the other side of my fucking hotel room wall here? And I assure you, it takes 3 or 4 fucking visits from management before any cops are called. But, so he got kicked out of a hotel and said he was walking the streets in the middle of the night in the UK somewhere a couple years ago. He's constantly got a problem with a restaurant or an airline. And one would think that if tweeting about it was resolving the issue, he wouldn't have so many of these problems. Maybe he ought to figure out what's causing it all and or talk to somebody about it. We should have had better help in here at this point. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that just if there was no contributing factor, mitigating circumstance, or fault on the part of the customer, that even if you find a prick working at the, concierge, area of the Mandalay Bay, that at the same time, they're not going to physically and verbally assault you, as well as laugh in your face after that happens. I mean, there's got to be 2 sides to this story, Brian, don't you think, is what I'm trying to say.
Did Chris threaten to kick their ass and they laughed at him?
Now that may be possible. I'm wondering what the entertainment factor was in how he confronted this situation, and what, he had to wait for 30 minutes, and I'm sure he probably spoke up about it. And to be honest, that's another reason why I don't like to stay in hotels where you valet your car or they have to carry your bags for you, because then you're at the mercy of somebody else's schedule. You got to go somewhere, they won't get your car. You need some shit, you ain't got your bags. But if you're going to do that, don't do that. Or if you're not going to do that, then do that. See, that's clear.
Are you being a bully if you use your Twitter mob?
Well, if there was legitimate bad service or a legitimate complaint, then I think that's pretty much justified, or certainly something that could be done. But when you go past, okay, boy, they took a long time to get me my shit, and they're understaffed, or they have bad attitudes, or whatever, and you go into, I was physically and mentally assaulted, then maybe that you've gone past something that can be dealt with on Twitter, and you need to go, I don't know, like the manager. What did the manager have to say?
Hey,
when the staff physically assaulted this television personality?
I just found a recent example from January 22nd, 2023, 12:45 a.m. from Chris Jericho on Twitter. Hey, Derek!
Wait! Hey, Derek!
Hey, Derek, the manager. I'm a Hilton's Hotel Diamond member with 2.5 million points. So why did you threaten me when I checked into the Hilton President in Kansas City and you didn't have the rooms I paid for available? You threatened...
How many rooms does he need?
You threatened and demeaned me when all I wanted was the rooms I booked. Awful service! All in caps.
He was threatened and demeaned?
If I'm Derek, I framed that fucking tweet. If I'm Derek, I have that tweet in my wallet. I hand it out to people.
Okay, so that was when?
January.
That was January. Why does Chris Jericho keep crossing the paths of all of these mean, incompetent, violent people?
The question is, what chain has he not done this to? This is Hilton, Mandalay Bay. I mean, he has all these points. Maybe he tries to stick with Hilton. I mean, it's a very nice hotel, typically, in most places.
I'm a Diamond member as well. I've not had any issues with being physically assaulted at any of their locations.
Who hasn't more points, you or Chris Jericho?
Well, he apparently don't use them. Because I've had millions of points over time, but I've used quite a bit of them as well, whereas it sounds like he's saving up to go to the fucking moon. You know, you can pretty much get a free night in any fucking Hilton property, even the Waldorf Astoria, for like 80,000 points. He's got 2.5 million.
Is this a gimmick? Now I'm starting to wonder if this is a gimmick. Here's another tweet. January 7th, so before the other one, 2023, 8:20 p.m. Hi, reservations.com. I accidentally pressed wrong button for the suites I reserved for Wyndham Hotels in Deerfield Beach. When I called the change 20 seconds later, I was told, quote, tough luck, deal with it.
What?
I find that unreasonable, and I would like to change, not cancel, all in caps, this reservation, total swindle.
You know who he sounds like on Twitter?
Don't say it, don't.
He sounds like disgraced ex-president Fuckknuckle. Awful service.
That's why he buys hotels, so he has a place to stay.
Unacceptable. Awful service. Witch hunt. Here's another thing. What did you just said there that said he was... How was he mistreated there? How did he phrase it?
HighReservations.com. I accidentally pressed the wrong button for the suites I reserved for Wyndham Hotels in Deerfield. When I called the change 20 seconds later, I was told, quote, tough luck.
Oh, yeah.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. You know, again, I hate the telephone workers in most places because they're usually either lost or stupid, potentially rude, but I've never had any, no matter how bad, say tough luck and deal with it. They're being monitored. If they say tough luck and deal with it, I think they get canned or an electric shock in their ass from their desk chair or something. They're supposed to say, we're sorry, sir, there's nothing we can do, but not tough luck, motherfucker, deal with it. How does he elicit these responses from people?
Well, here's another one. This one goes back a ways. July 18th, 2019, 9:05 p.m. Hey, Delta baggage service lady at Atlanta Airport. When a connection is missed and you hold my bags hostage overnight, it's not necessary to be rude or flippantly say, quote, I don't care if you've flown 3 million miles on Delta. Okay. There's plenty of other airlines to spend my money on.
Not at this rate. They're going to see him coming. They're going to put him on a federal no-fly list just for being a prick.
All right, well, but apparently Delta texted him, tweeted him back, "Hey Chris, we're terribly sorry for the events described. Please know that's not our normal level of service. Please know if we can assist via this channel, feel free to share via private message for additional review. Thanks for sharing. We appreciate you letting us know. HAA." And then he quote tweeted that and said, "I'm waiting for your DM, Delta."
Oh, and you know what? He's hell when he takes that expired potato salad back to the deli, too. He wants his money back for the whole container, not just half of it. 'Cause he may have eaten the first half, but that was before he realized it went bad.
This should be his new gimmick. He just gets on Twitter, complains about everything.
Hey, Todd.
Well, you know
Arnold,
what?
Fuck you.
Well, you know what? These are obviously just the examples that have been made public. I'm sure there are many other examples that we don't even know about publicly, or at least a lot of you don't. But I would think, whether I was Chris Jericho looking for the ability to play my music at any hour, day or night, and drunkenly yell at anyone I want, or perhaps you're a hotel chain looking to get some guy that thinks he's in Bon Jovi out of your hotel, perhaps someone needs to sue.
There's a need here in some form or fashion for legal representation, and folks, go no further than this man for that.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Those are the rest.
Now, folks, you may say, what about if you're a put-upon traveler? Winding your way around the country and encountering various rude people that mentally and physically assault you and hold your possessions hostage, you may need to sue. But what about if the flip-flop was on the other foot? What about if you're one of these many people that works in the service industry? You're a bag handler. You're a valet parker. You're a hotel clerk. You're someone at the ticket counter of a major airline. And suddenly, for no apparent reason, someone rushes in and begins berating you about the service that you have not provided for them, and they identify themselves as a TV star of high importance, and something must be done because they've been mentally and physically assaulted, and it's your fault. You gotta have some representation. That's why you need to call Stephen P. New, because he will get that Bon Jovi wannabe out of your hair once and for all, even if he has to pull out that Bon Jovi wannabe's hair plugs to do it. And folks, again, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. If you're a member of a hotel chain, he will defend you against the charges that you should have known better than to let the guy have the key to the minibar. Then if you are a valet parker or a baggage handler, he will defend you because you couldn't give the person their possessions because the smell of vodka from the claim ticket made your eyes water and you couldn't read the number. Whatever the case may be, folks, Stephen P. New is going to take care of you. 888-692-8084. newlawoffice.com. Don't be attacked and harassed on Twitter by Karen Jericho. Do something about it. Defend yourself today in a court. Did you tell me also, I've forgotten, we've been going on about this, but is there other news of another AEW talent that has suffered public misfortune?
Well, I mean, trying to see where to even start with this. Apparently Matt Hardy's Twitter got hacked, and the person has a hell of a sense of humor. Let me see where this starts. I see where it ends, allegedly. Matt, you should just let us run the account. We brought your shit back from the dead. Shit, if I was Edge, I would have fucked Lita too.
What? What? Now wait, what? What in the world?
That stupid fucking sexual assaulting pedo Vince McMahon is a fraud and stole $2 million from me. Go back to touching little girls, you stupid old freak. Me and Jeff's beef was real. He fucked my wife because I made fun of his wife for having a yeast infection.
Now wait, hold now.
Hashtag it's true.
Wait, hold now, Bobby. Hold on just a second, for heaven's sake, and even just one moment. So these messages, just out of the blue, were allegedly coming from the Twitter account of Matt Hardy.
No, they were coming from the Twitter account of Matt Hardy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Listen to the words that are being formed by my lips and are being emitted from my mouth. They were allegedly coming from Matt's official Twitter account, although it was someone impersonating this, but people had no knowledge of this beforehand. They just, if they follow Matt Hardy, they would have seen him say this and go, holy shit.
At Tony Khan, you're a bitch, and only relevant because of your billionaire dad. And then there's a slur there. Maybe Chris Benoit wasn't that bad. Bitches be annoying. Should I leak the DMs of my wife, Rebby Hardy, saying the N-word? Let me know. And then there's a few words there I won't be repeating. This part here is a little funny. Sorry, everyone. I got hacked. But I've since regained access. Sorry for all the vulgar tweets, messages in the past few hours. I'll be removing them and restoring my account back to normal. The next tweet. Psych, bitch, it's still me. You ain't getting this shit back. So apparently another wrestler, Matt Hardy, is being hacked. The reason I don't talk to Jeff anymore is because he tried to sleep with my daughter. I fucking hate my ugly ass wife, Rebby Hardy. Thanks for sleeping with my brother, stupid bitch. Matt Hardy has hardcore midget porn in his bookmarks.
Well, now wait a minute. That's not that unusual, is it?
Hardcore midget porn? Is there another kind of midget porn that isn't hardcore?
Well, there's various stages, and then you get into we'll talk about that off the air later on. But but now people have obviously realized that he's been hacked, and he's hacked off about it. And is this guy still doing this as we speak? Has this been shut down? What's the current status?
I'm right now checking the current status as we are recording. I am scrolling down on Matt Hardy's Twitter page.
Well, if all of that stuff's still up there, then chances are he hadn't got a hold of it yet.
Oh no, it appears that he has gotten back to his account and taken back over. As of this moment, we will see what happens for the rest of the day.
Good Lord. But you know, that if you wanted people to think that you were somebody, you might have eased into that stuff a little bit more than just coming out with all of that, which would be somewhat uncharacteristic. And
do you think more wrestlers should do this? Just like have a meltdown on Twitter over the weekend and then say, like, I got hacked. But like, you know, it feels good. It's like you let it all out. You get it all out.
I just do that anyway, and it's Tuesday.
Well, you don't have to worry about coworkers and stuff. If you work there and all of a sudden, like, you're on Twitter and you're like, oh, she's a slut, she fucked this guy. And then you're like, I got hacked, it wasn't me. I don't know what happened.
No, it's Tourette's. Dude, Cartman.
Twitter Tourette's?
Cartman, he just blamed Tourette's. They couldn't do anything. You fucking suck. Couldn't do anything to him. But dick, bitch, you no good whore. He couldn't do anything to him. It's a disability is what it is. So it could be Twitter Tourette's.
Twitter Tourette's.
Twitter Tourette's. Alrighty then. Hey, Derek.
Someone better call Sergeant McCoy.
You know, you don't know who to try. We just talked about Sports Illustrated being the least unbiased that they could possibly be. And we just talked about somebody impersonifying Matt Hardy and spreading all this fake news and these false tweets. Where, oh where, can you get real, honest journalism, the real wrestling news, or the real story from reliable podcasts, trusted voices in the podcasting world? Brian, where?
I can tell you exactly where. From the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Of course, get information about all the shows on Twitter at Super Podcasts or on Facebook at facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. And you brought up the news, the wrestling news, every single day for free. Get your free daily wrestling newscast every morning. Get it directly from thewrestlingnews.com or look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And don't forget, it's also on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Arcadian Vanguard. Want to make mention, once again this week, on Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam, John Fell from Baltimore on the show to discuss 1983 and his upcoming move to Calgary. Hear that today at McAdamPod.com. Look for Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! Go through the archive today at 605pod.com, available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. The Mothership! What was that?
We have to
You
talk
got a
about
bag of chips? What was that?
No, that was me crumpling up my notes for this program. You've taken over.
The only thing I could think of that could be sadder or worse than the passing of a wrestling legend is another Monday night on the USA Network. Jim, I understand you watched Raw this week.
Well, and you know, we can't be that unfair because as Raw goes, this was not a rotten Raw. This was at least half-baked. There was a couple of things I actually enjoyed, and at least some hope for the future. And apparently, as we'll mention also here at some point in the program, they're on a ratings roll. And they were back up here to almost 2 million on the fast, overnight, international number game, whatever they fucking send out. We haven't heard from Thurston Howell III, you and I. We haven't officially, but it seems like the Raw numbers were up also. And they were at the Hartford Civic Center, which looked great. It was packed, looked great, right down the road from Stamford. That's apparently why they had numerous visitors, including the leader of the evil empire himself. His hot air balloon landed in the parking lot. Vince McMahon was there. Apparently not being too overbearing.
That's a great price.
They said he changed the order of matches around, but I don't think he rewrote everything from scratch this week.
You know what's the biggest sign he's not being overbearing? The panting announcer. We always hear about Vince screaming in everyone's ear. Mick Foley quit because he couldn't put up with the screaming from Vince McMahon. Vince micromanages and yells. Michael Cole would be a 5-star announcer if not for Vince screaming at him. Then how does this guy get on this show? Just, all out of breath, Kevin Owens, he's panting. He's just panting. And then he just says names and nicknames and back to the panting. I can't deal with this fucking guy.
Loud noises.
Oh, look, Imperium. How is Vince allowing that? For everyone who wants to say Vince micromanages and screams at these guys, how is that getting on Raw?
Well, see, that's the way they talk over across the pond. Don't you know that? Oh, it's the Queen. Oh, it's the Queen. Oh, it's the Prince. Oh, it's the Count. Oh, it's the Count and his wife, the Oh. That's what they say over there. I'm just telling you. They say that word a lot. It means different things over there across the pond.
It's like he's kissing someone under a tree. Like just and Corey Graves is trying to make his voice deeper to get away from that. He was like, I don't know what you're doing. You can tell he's trying not to do that.
Well, I don't think that you make those noises from kissing, and they'd be muffled anyway. Because if your mouth was cut, I think you're getting a full-fledged fucking old-fashioned under the tree over there. If
the visionary, Seth freaking Rollins, just says names and pants. I can't deal with it.
He's having visions. At least the announcer's not the one seeing red fucking lights shining in his window.
It's more orangey red, and the wind is just, the trees are blowing all over the place, and the sky is red.
Wait a minute, you got an orange reflection through the window and a bunch of fucking hot air blowing? Have you checked to see if Trump's in your driveway?
Bedminster's right over here, so that's not an outrageous thought. But no, it's just, it looks like the fallout after the apocalypse out here right now. But back to Raw. Jim, well, before we get to, I know we have a lot of reviews, and I want to get a lot of questions in, but we have a lot of reviews, so we got to get some stuff going. Let me quickly ask you one question that a lot of people have sent in, and I'm hoping you've seen this. An image going around, Alan Blackstock discovered it on Twitter at Alan_cheapshot. He wrote, "Hang on a moment. There is a Young Bucks costume on Walmart's website,
Oh, God.
and the model looks quite similar to Dave Meltzer, and he's not exaggerating, other than what appears to be 2 toes on each foot.
What?
It looks very much like Dave Meltzer. Have you seen this?
Yes, I've seen it. Yes, people were tweeting it all over the Twitter the other day. And yes, he does look like he has cloven hoofs. I don't know if that's somehow maybe that was just the edge of the catalog or something. I don't know. But otherwise, yes, it looks slightly thinner in the face, but maybe it's just because he's so damn happy to be in that costume. But it's a Young Bucks Halloween costume, and it is clearly, whether it's Uncle Dave or not, a 60-something-year-old white man wearing it, which is just completely inappropriate on any level.
And he looks like Dave.
And then he looks like Dave Meltzer.
Did they try to find a model for the Young Bucks outfit that looked like Dave Meltzer?
I don't know what. I'm wondering if somebody's ribbing him, or did they somehow Photoshop this? Why would you? No adult male of that age, even if he was a catalog model or a male escort or a gigolo or whatever the fuck you need to be to pose for Halloween costumes for advertisements online. Nobody would put that costume on and stand there with that giant grin. And is it just my imagination because of who it looks like, or am I seeing his tongue even hanging out a little bit? And
that's your imagination because of who it is.
Okay, it's just the giant grin and the arms outstretched with all the buckaroo fringe hanging down. And no man of that age and that wasn't being held at gunpoint would look that jubilant wearing that ridiculous outfit and having pictures taken. Was this a community service deal that he struck? Okay, well, you won't go to jail. Just stand there and wear this while we take pictures of you.
I can't get past the talons or whatever's happening on the feet there, the hooves, as you put it.
Oh, what? Can you explain that? Was that somehow cut off in the printing, or it
almost looks like hands upside down, like making a pinching motion. I can't tell what it is.
Hands across the water.
You like wings?
I do like wings, but actually I'm on the boneless now more often because I don't trust my front tooth these days.
Boneless wings. Is that when Denny left the band?
Yes, that was boneless wings.
Okay.
But back to the cloven hooves of Dave Meltzer. See, there's English words that have never been put together in that order before. I have done something that's never been done on Earth with 6 billion people on it. But back to the cloven hooves of Dave Meltzer. Write it down, folks. So why does this motherfucker look this way, and what can we do about it? Who can we complain to about this? That should be on a registry somewhere. You're appealing to children for this childish play wrestling Halloween costume, and you've got this perverted-looking cloven-hooved man trying to sell him this outfit. What parent would see that and go, oh, I want my kid to look like that?
That's the question. Who is the audience that they think is going to buy this outfit? It's not even people in their 30s or 40s. This is a late 50s, early 60s-year-old man in this photo.
even the fans of the Buckaroos, the Buckaroos out there in the Buckaroo universe, do they want to dress up like these fucking cloven-hooved pricks, or do they just like to clap at their silly wrestling? Is there an adult audience for young bucks Halloween costumes?
You know, looking at it now, the fringes look kind of cool when you hold your arms up. They must be a pain in the ass when your arms are down.
Oh, they're heavy as shit. You gotta think.
Yeah, like hitting your hands.
Yeah, slapping around. You can get tied up and tangled up. It's hell when they wear them around the house. It's hell on the fucking bric-a-brac, on the various shelves and end tables and everything. Every time they fucking point or just turn around, they're knocking shit off.
Well, that's why they use their hooves to catch the stuff that they knock off to put it back on the table.
Well, that is handy to be hooved.
Well, not handy.
It behooves you to be hooved.
That's right. Well, I think this has been Reggie's Corner on the show.
and we're so happy there. All righty then. But it's your program.
That's really nice.
Another topic, another story that a lot of people have been sending us naturally. Sports Illustrated, SI.com, another one of their puff pieces by Justin Barrasso. Jon Moxley has a whole dissertation on why blood belongs in pro wrestling. He doesn't always intend to bleed in his matches, but he finds that getting busted open often goes hand in hand with the sort of performance he strives for. I don't want to go through the whole art. Well, I always say these are puff pieces. Let's see if it is or it isn't. It's 1:30 in the morning on Thursday. Air conditioning serves as a reprieve from the sweltering heat in Tokyo, which had felt like a sauna the previous 2 days at Korakuen Hall. Full of adrenaline from back-to-back physically grinding matches, full of blood, bruises, and foreign objects, Jon Moxley has no intention of going to sleep. So he agrees to take a phone call. Sitting on his hotel room couch, the shirtless purveyor of violence notices a puddle of blood beside him.
Wait a minute. The shirtless purveyor of... So basically he's lost his shirt in the wrestling business.
So he's doing a video interview with Justin Barrasso and he's not wearing a shirt. So he had to make sure we know that he's shirtless. But he notices a puddle of blood beside him.
You know what Justin Barrasso said? He said, hey, put your shirt on, Tarzan. Just because your breath smells like cheetahs, that's no sign that you're Tarzan.
Or he may have gone the other way and said, hey, you want me to take mine off too? Would that make you more comfortable?
Well, that might be. Just depends on whether he was Jake from State Farm. But go ahead.
Well, back to the puddle of blood.
I just realized that. It's not the first piece of furniture I ruined. They'll charge me for the cleaning.
Some love Moxley's bold, unapologetic style. Others don't. But he is pioneering...
Some believe he should be forced to apologize for his style.
But he is pioneering a different style, one covered in blood. I'm sorry. It's almost like I said AI, make me a Jon Moxley story. Oh, hold on. That was visibly apparent this week when Moxley celebrated the 4th of July at Korakuen Hall. He teamed with Homicide against Jun Kasai and El Desperado in a gnarly Doomsday no disqualification match.
Wait a minute. Was that a title of the match or just his description, gnarly? Is that a match they have over there, a gnarly Doomsday match?
No, I think it was just Doomsday. He called it gnarly, although now that you say it actually does sound like a cool... The gnarly Doomsday match.
It's badass.
And the chemistry with Desperado was quite evident.
Who is June? What's her name now? June?
Well, his
June
name,
Cleaver?
Jun Kasai is the name here.
Well, wait, I thought June was a girl's name.
No, in Japan, that's a man's name. Jun Akiyama?
So June Cleaver would have been the man, and then I guess Ward's a woman's name?
Well, let me go to some quotes here.
Desperado is a free spirit in the way he works and presents himself.
Says Moxley, who wrestled Desperado for the first time last July at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Music City Mayhem show.
When you watch his matches in Mexico, he has a proclivity to think freely. I don't want to label him a deathmatch guy, but when you're in a room with him, you know it. We share an
It's because he's got incredible body odor.
we share an unspoken bond. We didn't have a we didn't have a ton of expectations for our first encounter last year, but it showed us what we're capable of doing together.
Let me go past the fluff here. Here we go. The tag bout ended with Moxley covered in his own blood, foreshadowing his death match against Desperado the next day. But unlike the tag, a defeat, Moxley was victorious in the singles bout, and naturally, covered in his own blood.
I have a whole dissertation on my theory about blood in modern wrestling. Do we have time for that?
A resounding affirmative was the response to that inquiry. Moxley then proceeded to offer his reasoning on why blood belongs in pro wrestling.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Considering there is always logic embedded in Moxley's storytelling,
What?
it is no surprise that a hallmark of his philosophy...
Wait a minute. Where's the logical explanation for stabbing a son of a bitch in the head 4 times with a screwdriver and not beating him?
It is no surprise that a hallmark of his philosophy is sound reasoning.
This is a combat sport. College wrestling is a combat sport too. They have blood timeouts to patch it up. The lowest prelim bout of a UFC card or a boxing card, somebody might have a little blood on their eyebrow, or blood coming out of their nose, but they're not selling a blood sport. It's true. Tune in for the blood, tune in for the gore. It's part of the aesthetic. It adds realism.
A much shorter answer, Moxley explained, is that he has so much scar tissue on his eyebrows and head that he cuts very easily.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I don't even want to, but I only know one speed. That's with my foot on the gas pedal. If we're gonna do something, let's fucking do it. That could be detrimental when it comes to negative things, like drugs or alcohol. But that's my mindset. If I'm doing it, I'm doing it. When it comes to blood, it's just gonna happen sometimes. Like I said, it's foot on the gas pedal. Some people say, this is just a random match. Why is there blood? I heard that last week versus Tomohiro Ishii. He's one of the greatest of all time. I'm not going to let that moment slip by. I'm going foot to the fucking gas pedal. How can I not? Then I hear that I can't have a good match without blood. Okay, then you made my argument for me. I'll do it every time.
Has he been huffing the gas as he's putting the foot to the gas pedal?
You said I can't have a good match without blood. Okay, so I'll bleed every time.
Bleed every time.
That is brilliantly stupid, but it's fucking hysterical.
It's well, in his own weird way. And let me ask you this, Brian: when they have the UFC blood timeouts or the college wrestling blood timeouts or whatever, have we gotten a good on-camera shot of one of the competitors cutting their own heads with a razor blade right before we go into that?
No.
To keep the credibility of the sport up.
No, there's usually not a close-up of that. Usually one of the fighters doesn't get on the mic. Well, I shouldn't say that. They yell fuck.
Yeah, they do yell fuck. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but there's no blading or screwdrivers in the UFC.
And basically, so by keeping the credibility of the business up, he's talking about not selling anything to make it all look phony, doing blatantly preposterous and nonsensical things with furniture and implements to make it all look phony. And as long as I and or some of the people that I'm working with slice ourselves open to bleed for real, even though everything we do looks like phony fucking shit, then it will add to the credibility of the wrestling industry. Is that what he's saying here?
I guess, and we'll go back to it because the big quotes are coming up, but what are your thoughts in general? We've talked in the past a little bit about it, that this is the kind of stuff SI is putting on their website.
Well, yeah, I mean, the literary fellatio has become boundless as far as the not only the seductive and blatantly erotic descriptions of the shirtless Moxley, who had a pencil-thin mustache and was wearing Speedos, but also just the ridiculous amount of praise of this shit that you would expect coming from a fanzine level writer, and it's people writing for what used to be Sports Illustrated. And that's embarrassing.
But do you think that's a problem?
I mean, with anything, but with people we like. You know, Time and Newsweek shouldn't be saying, and CM Punk is the savior of wrestling and the best talent that's ever existed, and many people throw hotel keys at him whenever he walks down the aisle.
That's the problem. Like, you want serious wrestling writing, and then the people who get the gigs want to do fan club stuff. And maybe it's a double-edged sword where you can't get access to the wrestlers you want to talk to for these things unless you're going to blow them.
No, that sounds like a little over and above. Because John Moxley doesn't even know all those words, much less to tell somebody to write that about him.
Well, let's go back to this. Moxley's thesis is that blood will be shed. He backs it up with solid arguments and a willingness to question whether WWE's approach to blood is the correct method.
The point of the dissertation is that this is a combat sport. But we're not allowed to have blood in a match unless it's a personal grudge. We're only allowed to have blood after a 5-month grudge, after somebody slept with somebody's wife, or somebody ran over someone with a car. And then, only then, we're allowed to have this dramatic crimson mask that looks the exact same every time. For me, realism-wise, since this is a combat sport, that means that there is the potential for blood in every match.
He's hung up that he's a tough guy. He has convinced himself. And apparently a few other people, not many, but he is wholly on board with the delusion that he's this badass tough guy. And no, you stupid son of a bitch. You're not going to have blood every time out because most guys in the wrestling business, instead of just slicing themselves open in any random match, would rather save it for when it will make them some money and mean something at the gate. But you do you.
Everything in wrestling is preposterous to some degree, but this helps with the suspension of disbelief. I'm actually for less blood, but more often. If every single match on the card had a busted eyebrow or bloody nose, it would be just part of the sport. But some gory spectacle with blood shooting like a hose is pretty unnecessary. We're elbowing each other in the face every single match. We're kicking each other in the face every single match. What are these people made of if they're not bleeding? People ask why there is blood in the ring every time I leave it. It feels unnatural to go out of my way to make sure no one is bleeding. That feels like I'm taking my foot off the gas pedal.
Oh, the gas is back.
That doesn't interest me.
What's up with the gas pedal? That's 4 references to this already.
I guess he was speeding on his way to the interview. In more ways than one, it sounds like.
So what do you think about the idea there should be blood in every match to some degree? A little bit here, a little bit there, sprinkled over here.
A soup's on there. Again, there are ways that you can make or would want to make works simulate shoots, and there's ways that you don't. And it can be anything from the fact that, remember the first UFC special on Fox back in, I think it was 2009. They built up the big main event. It was Dos Santos and goddamn, who was it? Nevertheless, they built this big fucking main event up like the goddamn cataclysmic confrontation between the Christians and the Lions, and it was over in less than a minute. And that's the problem with shoots. You sometimes don't give the people their money's worth. And in other times, or other cases of how you don't necessarily want your working to look like a shoot, if everybody bleeds in some description, or even most of the people bleed in any description on a wrestling show, then again, like all the dives that are now not only commonplace but boring, or all the other shit you can't get away from, people just become numb to it and they overlook it. It becomes part of the sport, like Numbnuts there said. And then you can't use it to draw any money anymore because it's normal. Everybody expects it, and they don't even pay any attention to it. But this fucking lunatic can't get that.
Let me finish up here. I'll skip to the bottom. Only 37. Moxley is
and looks like that.
Moxley is old enough to know that careers do not last forever. That makes him even more grateful to soak up moments like this, and for the work he is doing with the Blackpool Combat Club, which is building to a blood and guts match against the Elite in 2 weeks on Dynamite.
At some point, some match will be my last. This existence in my athletic career is finite. I feel like I didn't use a few of my peak years to my full potential, a lot of which is no fault of my own. Some of it is, so I'm very in the moment. I want to wring the sponge of every ounce of potential. I want to find out exactly what I could become.
Join the Army.
Regret is one of the worst things in life.
Yeah, motherfucker, do more before breakfast than most people do all day.
Regret is one of the worst things in life. There's some really good quote about it. Regret lasts forever or some shit. You know what I'm saying? I want a career without regret.
We haven't heard the quote. We'd like you to tell us the quote now that you teased us with the quote.
As the time extended well beyond 2 a.m, this American-based reporter apologized for taking up so much of Moxley's night. Nonchalantly, and in trademark fashion, Moxley offered a logical response before attempting to get some sleep.
I don't go out after shows anymore, so I end up bored as fuck. It worked out perfectly.
And that's the end of the article here.
Well, at least he ends up after his matches like everybody else that's watched him ends up.
That's why he's so obsessed with Stallone. He goes back to the hotel. What's on TV? Just all these various Stallone movies.
Rocky 3.
From endless scenic vistas and fresh mountain air to forested trails and flowing waterfalls, it's our responsibility to preserve Boone's natural beauty for those enjoying it today and for those discovering it tomorrow. Sticking to designated trails, following posted signage, and practicing waterfall safety are all good ways to respect Boone's outdoor spaces. Together, let's make sure the views that go on forever go on forever. Learn more at preservetheawe.com.
News emanating from south of the border about some of the other AEW, I guess you can call them talent. They're on the roster. And we're not sure what do we even know where this happened otherwise than the country? Do we know a specific? It was after a AAA match last night?
It was in Tijuana. It was Triple Mania in Tijuana, I believe.
Triple Mania in Tijuana. Was a donkey on the show.
Will you stop it? This is a big event. This is the biggest event for AAA every year. AAA.
Well, that's why I figured they'd bring in the donkey, the dancing bear, everything they could throw at them.
There are no donkeys currently involved with AAA.
But unfortunately...
that I know of.
Well, no, I'm not saying... I wasn't saying unfortunately about that. I'm saying unfortunately about the topic that we're about to discuss. Unfortunately, see, old Kenny and old Don Fallis, I guess they're not welcome on Collision because there's other people that are not welcome on Wednesday nights. So they're being kept. So to have employment on Saturday night instead of being with the AEW crew doing the great Collision program, they were down in Tijuana riding the donkey over to the event that they had down there. I mean, I can't, it has to be some kind of dog and pony show, because how else could what we are about to describe happen? Don Fallis was attacked not by a fucking heated fan, not by a mark, but by a goddamn random photographer in the middle of a press conference.
And we have audio, however you want to play it.
Well, yes, but there are no fans. This is not during the show. This is after the show. They were apparently outside on a football field type of stadium thing. And now there's a bunch of people asking Kenny questions about his match that he had with Vikingo. And they're all either shooting with their phones or they've got cameras. And it's like, you saw the tent where, you know, I guess maybe they had some Gatorade under the fucking tent. There's nobody in the stands. There's nobody there. It's the the press conference, the media scrum, right? And they're on the sidelines of the football field. Have I described this visually appropriately enough for people to get the picture?
I don't know if it's a football field or a baseball field or a soccer
It's
field.
some kind of sporting stadium where they're on the sidelines of it, and it's after the show, and there's a bunch of, and these look like, you know, obviously everybody that's there is shooting it. It's not just random fans standing around. There's not that many people there. Where you think 30 or 40?
The people that are standing around appear to have passes around their neck, so you would think
Yes.
they were cleared. Like you said, there are a few people with the media shooting on their phone, but that's not abnormal nowadays with the media. But there are
Right.
also people with microphones and cameras. Everyone seems to be
Yeah.
a part of this.
And then suddenly, old Don comes out and starts yelling at Kenny, as often happens in these media scrums, right? And they're going back and forth. And then who would take a shit comes and jumps on Kenny, and he's down on him, beating him up, and you see some guys that are mostly dressed in black that look like they would probably be some of the promotions people or whatever that is. They're starting to try to get the fucking heel off the baby face, and then they've got him kind of like, oh, come on now. It looks like everybody's with this fucking program, right? And then as they take a shit one way, and Kenny's selling over here on the field, on the ground, Don runs over to be the chicken shit heel manager and runs over and starts trying to give him the Jimmy Hart pitter pat fucking kicks, and suddenly some random guy that's got a camera that's taking pictures or whatever grabs Don from behind, and you see this going off camera because they're shooting the angle that they think is going on, right? They're not shooting, they don't know some guy's going to go into business for himself. And the fucking guy, the photographer, reaches around and grabs Don, and you can see there'd be a little struggle, and you see the photographer's leg go in between Don's leg. He's doing a leg trip on Don Callis, like he's goddamn a member of the Gracie family or something, and fucking takes him down to the ground with a whoop. And you hear Don's going, Conan!
That's my favorite thing in the second part of it, because there's two different cuts of the video. It's like the Zapruder film. No one has the exact moment.
Now, they got a couple of different angles when people noticed there was something going on, but nobody's got the unobstructed thing.
Conan!
And then when the other camera goes over to him, the guy's on top of Don. He still doesn't realize what he's done. And Don is going, are you fucking ribbon? What the fuck is going on here? And another guy comes over and tells the photographer, get off it. And the photographer gets up and just lets go and doesn't realize he's done anything wrong.
No one else seems to be bothered either.
No, because he's got a rear naked choke on fucking Callus on the ground. So apparently he hurt his fucking ankle and fucking whatever else when he took him down. And there's Don going, are you fucking ribbing me? We're doing an angle out here. This guy's not smart.
He wanted to get back into the business so bad. He has a giant scar on his head. Now he's getting attacked by photographers on soccer fields in Mexico.
And if people on Twitter heard the initial news, the initial headline was attacked by fan, right?
Well, the original, let's go in order here. Ryan Alvarez broke the news. At least that's where I saw it, and everyone else I've seen said that this is where the first report was. Here's the quote. Everything was an angle up to that point, but then a fan who was apparently upset about what Don had said to Kenny jumped Don from behind, ripped his suit, concussed his eardrum, and busted open his mouth while he was trying to choke out Don from behind. Don was screaming profanities at the fan. Callus's neck and ankle were both injured in the attack, and he's headed to San Diego for medical attention.
I'm not laughing at he's hurt, but I'm like, yes, he was screaming profanities, but it wasn't like, I'll fucking kill you, you motherfucker. It was like, are you fucking ribbing me? Get this motherfucker off me. Who the fuck, what the fuck kind of fucking dog and pony show is going on here? Because the guy wasn't trying to fight him. He was he saw the other people, because that's what he leg tripped him, took him down, had him in a rear naked choke, and was restraining him. Like he was one of these people that go off on the subway, right?
That's right.
And because he saw other people doing it and thought he'd help. And I was telling you before we went on the air, in Baltimore in 1986. At the Civic Center there, the Baltimore Arena. We were working with the Rock and Roll Express. I was handcuffed at ringside to Jimmy Valiant, right? And we're having a match, and Bobby takes a bump out. There's a couple of people at ringside, but one we've never seen before and never saw again. I don't know whether he was a local newspaper photographer or maybe one of the... He looked like he was young enough he could be in his senior year of college. He was like 6'3", 6'4", and 275, but not...
Oh, wow.
Not a football player. No, fat. Big, fat, corn-fed. Like the football coach would have looked at him coming down the hall and then seen that he was a fat piece of shit and, no. But he was big. And he's there at ringside, and Bobby takes a bump through the... Bobby, the nicest guy in the world of all people, takes a bump through the ropes, and he sees the guy at the last minute. He tries to catch himself, but he and Regan, they're going to do something. And as he lands, he staggers back and bumps the guy, but he also says, get the fuck out of the way. Like, hey, watch out, you're going to get hurt, we're going to do something. And the guy, instead of getting out of the way, stood his ground and shoved Bobby in front of 10,000 people. And the World Tag Team Champion just got shoved by the goddamn fat fucking newspaper photographer, right? And Bobby goes back up and he's trying to work with him one more time, but he shoves him double. He said, I said, fuck off out of here, right? Trying to smarten him up, give him the issue, or the Iggy, right? And the guy fucking shoved him back. Hot, right? Putting his camera to hot, shoved him back, and here we go. Bobby started fucking throwing right hands, and suddenly the cops who had been sitting there at ringside, obviously, didn't react with the shove because, it could be guys doing shit at ringside. When they saw Bobby laying in on this big ass, who was throwing back, by the way, the big fat fuck, they immediately grabbed this fucking guy and took... I don't know what his fucking issue was, but he was not going to move, not going to get out of the way, and he was going to stand his fucking ground. But, sometimes people ain't fucking smart. I don't know, so... But, again, Don's got a great lawsuit if he'd like to pursue
Mexico.
it.
Yeah.
Well, well, Tijuana is in Mexico, isn't it? It's right down from San Juan Capistrano.
I don't know about that.
Or is it Don Juan Capistrano?
I don't know about that.
But anyway, so that's what happened. So this fucking knucklehead thought that he'd join into pulling these guys apart because they were really going to have a fight there.
Conan!
You fucking ribbon? Get this fucking guy off of me. What the fuck?
Did you listen to Omega's answers to the questions? Because that's how it started.
I started for about 30 seconds, and
Do you want to hear any audio, I guess? I'll hear on the show is the question.
No, only the audio of the guy on Don, because the Kenny audio was, my God, is a fucking substitute for propofol. He speaks that way to everybody, apparently.
All right, let me go to, because there was a cut, and here's where Takeshita was on top of Kenny hitting him. So you'll hear Callis, because he's just talking shit like a manager in the background. So you'll hear him, and then there's a second version, which is a little louder. That's where you can hear the Conan! But hold on, here we go.
Shut up! Let's get the... No! What, Conan?
Coughing.
Conan!
And now Callis is being pulled away by a fan.
Yeah.
Or by the photographer.
Kenny, you okay?
What the fuck is going on here? Jesus.
And this Omega still doing the angle.
Yeah, no, Omega was the one.
Get up!
Oh, wait, let me,
Go ahead.